Yo, what's up, it's Ben MG Scully knocking out a new video for you guys today, and it's the first video for a few days. Sorry about that. I was going to make a running vlog yesterday, but things happened, so unfortunately couldn't get that video up for you yesterday. But regardless, I'm back today, and today we're going to cover a quite interesting topic. I think I haven't talked about MMA in a little bit, so today an interesting topic at the very least is top 5 future UFC champions, in my opinion. This is a different kind of video than you might think I'm gonna make. So normally when you think of a future champion, it's someone who's on the rise, but this is someone who these aren't newcomers who I think will be getting it somewhere in their future. These are just people where I think maybe in the next year or two will get their hands on UFC gold very soon. So these are top level guys who will either finally get a championship belt or get a championship belt in a different division. Spoiler alert. So starting off at number 5, I hope you all enjoy. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss an upload, and yeah, I hope you all enjoy. Let's get into number 5. So number 5, I've got Francis Ngannou, and he's at heavyweight. And you might think, but he's already had a title shot only about 3 years ago, and he got quite dominated by Stipe Miocic, who is currently the heavyweight champion. So what's this time going to be? How is he going to get the belt anytime soon? I'm not saying I think he's going to beat Stipe Miocic in their rematch coming in the next few weeks, but I am saying that I believe it's in March or early April, he'll be fighting Stipe Miocic. I'm not saying that I think he'll beat him, but I'm saying that maybe in the next 2 years, if Stipe loses, I do think that Stipe is Francis's kryptonite, and Stipe's style, because he's so versatile. You know, if he gets clipped once by Francis, yeah, he could go out, but if he doesn't, and he takes Francis to the ground, we saw in the last fight that Francis had no idea what was going on when his back hit the mat. That being said, that was 3 years ago. In 3 years, you can develop some skills in the grappling field. And we have noticed that before, he was literally just a powerhouse. He had like 5 minutes of fighting him, and after that, he was shattered. If he couldn't get someone out there in the first round, which we hadn't really seen him not do up to that point, obviously it got him big stardom because of it. But then once we saw him in the title fight, we realised, yeah, after the first round, or first round and a half, he's got the power, but he's lost all his speed, and he's lost all his footwork. And while Stipe didn't spend much time on the feet with him after that point, because he just spent the whole fight dominating him on the ground or in the clinch, we noticed that Stipe is a very good grappler if he needs to be, as well as striker. But when he doesn't want to strike with someone, he doesn't have to. He has got that alternative then with the grappling, and we saw how much he handled Francis with it. But that being said, Francis used to come into fights as heavy as he could at 265 pounds. He's now cut down to about 250, 245, I believe. He'll probably come into this fight around 245, just so he can go all those extra minutes then, if he can't get Stipe out of there soon. And obviously since Francis lost to Stipe has lost himself. He got knocked out by Daniel Cormier in his next fight, and since he lost, he's only had one fight. He won in a trilogy fight with Daniel Cormier. He's won 2 fights since then, because he lost to DC right after beating Francis. Then the next year he fought DC again in a rematch to get his belt back off of DC, and he did. And then they had a trilogy fight just to see if DC could get it back off of Stipe, and Stipe defended. He beat DC. So since then, since beating Francis Ngannou, Stipe has gone 2-1 in the heavyweight division, whereas I believe Francis Ngannou has gone about 3-1, because I know he beat Junior Dos Santos, and he's also beat Jairzinho Rosenstrike. And if I've forgot who else he's beat, I'm gonna put up in the corner below. I'm sure he's beat other people too. I just can't. They're just not on the tip of my tongue. But regardless, he has a better chance of beating Stipe basically this time, and I'm excited to see what he does. And if he doesn't beat Stipe and Stipe loses the title, I think Francis will beat most people in that division. So we'll see how it goes, and I'm looking forward to it. And moving on to number 4. Now this one is a bit shorter, but number 4 is Davison Figueiredo from the lightweight division. And you might think, what do you mean future champion? He already is the flyweight champion. What I mean is, I think he's going to move up a weight class, because we noticed in one of his last fights in 2020, well, I think when he first fought Joseph Benavidez in 2020, before the pandemic, we noticed that he missed weight, and it was for a vacant title. So him and Joseph Benavidez fought for the vacant title, but the title remained vacant because Davison missed weight. Benavidez came in on weight, so if Davison won, no one wins the belt. But if Benavidez won, he became champion. But we saw that Joseph Benavidez got handled by Figueiredo, and because the belt was vacant, there was no champion. So a few months later, then, and during the pandemic, then once the fight started back up, they had a rematch. But this time, both of them came in on weight, so whoever wins became the new champion. And Davison smacked him up basically, knocked him down multiple times, and then submitted him in a disgusting choke. And he tapped, but he was out cold. He was by the time the ref stepped in. And because of how much he's been dominating the flyweight division, the bantamweight division has a few more big names in there, and I feel like he ain't gonna be able to resist and to not move up. So I feel like he's gonna go for double gold in the next 2 years. I feel like he's gonna go up to bantamweight and challenge either Piotr Jan, if Piotr Jan is still the champion by the time Davison Figueiredo does move up, if he does, or whoever the bantamweight champion would be at that time, whether that would be Henry Cejudo if he came back, TJ Dillashaw if he came back, Cody Garbrandt, we don't know, maybe Dominic Cruz, we don't even know. I know Dominic Cruz is fighting soon, but if he loses, I think that will be Dominic's last fight. And it'd be very interesting to see who Figueiredo does fight in bantamweight if he does. So yeah, I'm excited to see about that. I'll definitely get some more eyes down at the lower weight divisions, and deservedly as well, because they don't really get enough recognition, because people say they always go to decisions, but Figueiredo doesn't have that many decisions on his resume, in all fairness. So for a champion of that division, it's good that he represents them and says that we don't always go to decisions. He's got a good few finishes on his record, and yeah, I'm excited to see what he does. Moving on to number 3. Now, number 3, this is another weird one where this person has already been a champion, but I feel like they'll be a champion again in circumstances. We got Robert Whittaker in the middleweight division. Robert was champion recently. He defended his belt, I believe, either once or twice, beating Yoel Romero in a very close fight, in a hard-fought decision, in one of the best fights of the year, in I believe 2018. And yeah, it was an incredible fight. And when you see that, you know that Robert Whittaker has the heart of a champion and deserves to be there. But Robert Whittaker got absolutely owned by Israel Adesanya when Israel had his title shot. And so far, Israel has defended that belt twice against Yoel Romero and Paulo Costa. Obviously, arguably the 2 toughest guys in the division. And obviously, Yoel Romero, one of the toughest dudes, gave Robert Whittaker a hell of a fight. And Paulo Costa, who was like 12-0 undefeated dude, or 13-0 undefeated dude, had never really seen that much adversity. And when he did a little bit against Yoel Romero, he pulled through and beat him as well. I feel bad for Yoel Romero because it makes it sound like everyone's beat him, where that isn't fair to say, because those are the only 3 dudes who's ever beat him, and Robert has beaten him twice. Yeah, so Robert Whittaker, since losing to Israel Adesanya, has had a very good fight against Darren Till and beat him. It gave him his first loss at middleweight. It was a very good and not a decisive fight. It was clearly a unanimous decision, but it was 3 rounds to 2. It was 48-47, so it wasn't a clean sweep, and it wasn't an easy fight for Whittaker by any means. They exchanged knockdowns, in all fairness. And he also beat Jared Cannonier at UFC 254, a fight I watched live actually, and I was very impressed by Robert's performance, because Jared Cannonier was on the rise. He'd never had a title before. The whole hype around Cannonier was that he'd been in 3 weight classes: heavyweight, light heavyweight, and then middleweight. How he used to be 240 pounds, but he cut down to 185. And how he beat Anderson Silva and was tearing through the division basically, and was a very big rising star. And he couldn't win a round against Robert Whittaker. Robert outpointed him the first 2 rounds, had very good defense to the leg kicks when they were coming, which is what Cannonier was very much known about, and even dropped him in the end, in the 3rd round at the start of it, and dominated him on the ground for the remainder, and won a clear-cut unanimous decision, and has been very impressive. I believe he's fighting Paulo Costa next, who obviously was the best in the division until he fought Israel Adesanya. And since Israel Adesanya is going to move up to light heavyweight to fight Jan Blachowicz for his belt, that's going to leave the light heavyweight belt open. That's going to leave the middleweight belt open if Izzy decides to defend the light heavy and not the middleweight. If he decides to abandon the division, that leaves the top 10 contenders to fight against each other to see who becomes the new champion. And out of them lot, Rob Whittaker is the number 1 contender. So I see him definitely taking that belt. If not him, then we'll see who does. But I think Rob Whittaker has the best chance of reclaiming his own belt if Izzy vacates it. So yeah, I'm excited to see who he fights, and I'm excited also for Israel Adesanya when he fights Jan Blachowicz, but we'll see. Moving on to number 2. This one is more of a recent pick. Number 2 is Dustin Poirier, mainly because of how class his fight was with Dan Hooker, and how obviously he knocked out Conor McGregor just a few weeks ago. Dustin Poirier is probably one of the nicest dudes in the division, and he's a fighter that I think anyone can look up to, mainly because of his charitable side, is having his own, the Good Fight Foundation, his charity, and not being a trash talker unless he needs to and stuff like that. He's a very humble guy, and he's someone that, not even just as a fighter, but as a person outside the octagon, everyone can look up to, because him outside of the ring and him inside the ring are 2 completely different beasts, in all fairness. And yeah, so obviously he did challenge for the title against Khabib Nurmagomedov in 2019, and while he did lose to submission by Khabib in the 3rd round, he did do he rocked Khabib, probably the worst Khabib has ever been rocked, and we realised how he kind of opened up a few holes in Khabib's game that we all kind of worried for Khabib then when he fought Gaethje. Dustin's also beat Gaethje, knocked him out. Dustin has beat so many guys in the division. Of course, he beat Gaethje. He's beat Max Holloway, arguably, in my opinion, the best featherweight of all time. Max Holloway beat him at lightweight. Obviously, yeah, it's not in his weight class, but still, he's just only 10 pounds heavier, and he snapped his 12-fight win streak. He also then obviously fought Khabib, lost, but since then he's had 2 class performances against top level guys in Dan Hooker and Conor McGregor, and has looked incredible in both of those fights. So I'm definitely excited to see what Dustin Poirier does next, and if he rematches Conor, which I believe he's going to do after that, if he beats Conor McGregor, if he knocks him out again, then definitely title shot. Either just give him the belt if Khabib doesn't come back, or his next fight put him against someone like Michael Chandler or something. And if Michael Chandler's fought since then and won himself, that's great. Or put him in against Gaethje or something like that. Or maybe a good idea is Charles Oliveira for the belt. We'll see. The lightweight division is exciting at the moment, and I'm super excited to see what's going to happen with it, because you've got so many dudes in there that deserve title shots in the near future, but obviously they can only be 2 dudes. So eventually we'll see what happens. But yeah, like I've said in every one of these, I'm very excited for it. And moving on to my top pick, number 1. So number 1 is Israel Adesanya, and this is similar to number 3, where I said that Robert Whittaker has been a champion before. Oh, sorry, number 4, Davison Figueiredo is a champion right now, and so is he. You know, why put him on this list as a future champ if he already is one? This is what I mean when I say that I think some of these dudes will be champions in other weight divisions, where I think Izzy will beat Jan Blachowicz, because Jan Blachowicz has got 8 losses prior and has had a very impressive run recently against Luke Rockhold, of course, stunning knockout of Luke Rockhold. Also Corey Anderson, who was also hot of a win against Johnny Walker at the time. And also then Dominic Reyes, arguably the dude who came the closest to beating John Jones, arguably a dude who beat John Jones. I think so as well, but kind of got robbed for the title against John Jones, and obviously who looked the best against him in years. Everyone was like, give Dominic Reyes another shot now that John Jones is in heavyweight, and they did, and Jan Blachowicz kind of just walked through him really. The first round Dominic didn't do much, Jan definitely won that round. The second round he started kicking Dominic to the body, give him like an awful bruise to the side, kind of busted his nose up a bit, actually ended up breaking his nose, and eventually the knockdown came in the end of the second round, and he stopped him. And obviously he's the champion for a reason, but Israel is no pushover, as we've seen. He's 20-0 for a reason, whereas Jan Blachowicz, I believe, is like 25-8 or something. I'm probably wrong, I'll put the correction but we'll see what happens with that fight. I think that Israel is going to kind of cruise to a victory. I don't think there'll be a decision. I think it'll be like a mid-round, like 2, 3, or I'll say third round TKO for Israel Adesanya. That's where I see the fight going, and I think he's going to claim UFC gold at light heavyweight. So that's this video, I guess. Hope you all enjoyed. I hope you agree with my 5 picks. If you don't agree, make sure to comment below and tell me who you'd pick to be any future UFC champions. And that being said, please like and subscribe if you like my content. We got more videos coming. I'm not going to take a 3-day break like I have done. So keep an eye out. Keep a listen out for turn the notification bell on, so when I upload again, you guys get notified. If you don't have me on Snapchat, there is anyway. But there we go. Thank you all for watching. Ben Andrew Scully is out.